Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mysterious Huntsman Show. The show where we explore strange encounters, hidden history, and lots of unexplained encounters. I'm your host, and you can find my show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major podcast platforms. If you want to like, follow, and subscribe to the show, or even reach out with a story of your own, check out the links in the description, and you can find me on all of the social media platforms. Now let's get into tonight's show. Tonight we're joined by Ron Morehead, a legendary Bigfoot researcher, best known for the Sierra sounds recorded in the remote Sierra Nevada mountains in the early 70s. Ron is an author of several great books, and most recently, Quantum Bigfoot, where he challenges the traditional nuts and bolts explanation of Sasquatch and explores the possibility that the phenomenon may involve consciousness, dimensions, and the deeper structure of reality itself. With decades of first-hand investigation and one of the most debated audio recordings in cryptid history, Ron brings a perspective that sits at the crossroads of science, mystery, and the unknown. And just to add real quick, according to retired Navy crypto-linguist Scott Nelson, who analyzed recordings, he said that is definitely a language, it's definitely not human in origin, and it could not have been faked.
Waiting for night view.
You're trying to talk to this. Like a laughing duck.
That's our kill. Now we know where we can look for tracks of life for sure. There's two of them across the creek at the big rocks. It's a hard act to follow.
It sounds like he talks to us and they talk to each other.
Yeah. Right there, I just seen movement right through there.
And that's that, guys. All right, let's bring in Ron Morehead. Hey, Ron, how are you doing, man?
Well, I'm just fantastic. How you doing, Paul? Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You too. I know we were speaking earlier, but I'm very honored to have you on the show, and I appreciate you spending your time with us and taking time to talk with me.
Thank you so much. My honor.
And I already told you, but I love the hat. I may have to get one of those.
Well, actually, I started making another one here. I lost a tooth out of this one here. Alligator
make
teeth
them?
are hard to find. Huh? Well, I got one
Oh,
I'm
you
making
make?
right now. Well, I got bear claws on this one. If I change hats, I don't know if I will or not. People recognize me from this hats.
Yeah.
Might ought to just
Yeah, they do. They do.
groom it up a little bit.
No, I
Anyway.
love it. I love it. It's a perfect adventurer's hat. It suits you. But
Well,
no,
some of them
like I said,
shark teeth. I got 2 shark teeth in there, and the rest of them alligator teeth. Well, except for the
really?
one's missing.
Yeah. Do you guys have many alligators up in the Pacific Northwest?
Don't have any. No, it's all back east. I had one go by my house when I was in North Carolina. 7-foot alligator. Got a picture of him.
Yeah.
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 Got
They'll
loose.
wake you up if.
Well,
Yeah, you're sitting in
if
a.
you got a dog or something, you don't want to get eaten up.
Yeah. No, yeah. They down here they get near your kayak, you'll perk up quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, man, it's like I said, it's a great honor to have you on, and I've already explained, I guess, to my audience, that you recorded the Sierra Sounds back in the early '70s, and it was, it's still pretty much undisputed, and I just wanted to have you on here and tell, your story a little bit about it, and I know I wanted to go into maybe the quantum aspects of it, or maybe the interdimensional
sure.
side of things.
Yeah.
I did tell you earlier, I think a lot of things are ramping up, and I think maybe a lot of this stuff is connected somehow. A lot of the things that we're experiencing nowadays, and it's just anything paranormal is, I think, ultimately is coming down to being connected.
Well, paranormal is just the normal, not understood.
No, true.
Paranormal is just the
True.
normal that's not understood. But with the
Right.
paranormal, the woo, the mystery stuff, it's all answerable by something. And that's what got me into my second book, The Quantum Bigfoot. Because there's a quantum mechanics that people don't recognize or don't understand, and it's a science that's worldwide. It's only a little over 100 years old. But Newtonian physics is what we're all conditioned with in our brain. We think everything's measurable, predictable, and physical, but it's not that way. According to Christopher Breyer, West Texas A&M physicist there, he says that everything from the atom all the way through the cosmos works under quantum physics. We just ride in a third density environment here, and quantum physics says there's more densities out there. And it's all proven by mathematics. If anybody questions that stuff, they should just look into it for themselves, because it's all there. But a lot of people, sounds are undisputed. Well, some people still can't believe them. But, they don't have to believe that. If they're going to believe science, and quantum science is a science, they need to get into that before they start questioning what they don't know anything about. There's other things happen besides just the sounds. That's what makes me wonder, because Al Berry, the investigative reporter we took in, he said, wow. He says, he had a master's degree in science. He says, you can't talk about this weird stuff. He says, that makes sense. Like I tell people, like trying to nail jello to the wall, it just doesn't work. But quantum science seems to answer a lot of the puzzles that are out there that people are experiencing worldwide, not just here. A lot of places. That's why it's popular, the subject matter. And some people, like supposed to be researchers, play it down like it's something in the woo-woo out there. No, nothing can disappear. Nothing can do that stuff. Well, they're telling all these people who've had these experiences, which there's not just hundreds now, there's thousands, that they're delusional, and they're telling me that I'm delusional. And, well, maybe I am, but I don't think I am. I've experienced some stuff, and I try to get to the answers to it. And I think anything that's a problem, there's got to be an answer to it. I've just been looking now since the 70s for over 50 years, over 5 decades. I've been researching this subject matter, and I've come to some pretty good dots together, at least for the creatures that we encountered in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. There's a human component to them. I pretty much determined that just from the groundwork that I've done through the science. We showed the sounds were outside the human range, that They're also inside the human range. They're below, above, all over the scale. We don't know what the scope is, what they can do, what the ones we encountered can do. That's better say that because I've never encountered anything quite like what we did at the Sierra camp since then that I could really define. Then I got Scott Nelson, who's a cryptolinguist, who said, hey, within these sounds there is a language. And he's a language expert, really with unknown languages, unknown sounds. He worked for the military, and that's what he did in the military as a cryptolinguist. He listened to sounds and see if there was any kind of a code in them, unknown sounds, see if there was any kind of code in them or anything for the military. He retired from that and went teaching languages out of college, and that's when he ran across my sounds by accident, and he studied them and said there's a language within this chattering they do back and forth. It's the same type of chattering that Albert Ostman claimed in his report to John Green in Apes Among Us, the book. John Green interviewed him in the 50s. He had his encounter, though, in the 50s, 100 years ago. But it's been considered credible, even though I've been up to that area where he said he had his encounter in my plane. I flew over the area a lot looking for signs of where he could have been held. Anyway, that's another story of its own. But you put those two dots together, you got outside the human range, and also Dr. Carlin, Wyoming University, said that they represented something over 8 foot tall, and that's unique. But we knew they were big, coming from the size of the tracks, and the sounds were they're really big sounds. You got Scott Nelson says it's a language. Then you got Dr. Lieberman, Brown University, says only humans have the vocal ability for cognitive language, like I'm speaking now, I hope. And it's just you put those three dots together, and there has to be a human component to what we were encountering up there. And yet they had some inhuman-like attributes that we were experiencing. And I did see a UFO up there once.
Yeah,
I lost it. I lost it behind the trees, but that's it. And then I've heard some things that just didn't make sense. Big whirling sound like a tuning fork. In the daytime, you never could see where it was coming from, but it was up above us somewhere. Anyway, I don't want to interrupt and take up the whole conversation here, but that kind of lays it out a little bit, what we encounter. But yet there's some people that have never experienced anything unusual and just think they're just a biological creature around the field out there. And maybe they are. Maybe some of them are. But they are not all the same. I'll put that right down, pad. I've been all over the world with this stuff. They're not even reported as being the same from people who've had experiences with them. And these people that are making these comments just haven't done their homework, I think, because they can disappear. And if you get how that happens, it goes through because our visual frequency and our quantum physics, and everything is energy, frequency, and vibration, right? And that's the most minute level of everything is energy, frequency, and vibrating at a frequency. And Einstein said you find the frequency of anything, you can change its matter. And you got Dr. Paul Dirac, who said that when 1933 won the Nobel Prize for antimatter, which is direct exchange between matter and energy. You got that established by CERN in 2012 when the Hadron Collider at CERN. And you got this stuff that people just don't think about or don't look at. And if they just do their homework, they'll see that this thing can disappear. How does it do it? They do it through frequency. And I think it's through sound frequency because of their vocal range. Maybe they can reach actually any tone, a musical tone, at the 49th octave will turn into light. Now, light is just energy, right? This goes on and on. And I get carried away with this. I apologize if I'm talking, rattling on too much, but it's exciting to me. It really is because it's on the edge of something very unique and very.
Yeah, it is. You mentioned that Scott Nelson said it was something not human. Did he also mention anything about possibly hearing like a creature that might have had like two sets of vocal cords, or is that something else?
That's been hypothesized that they have to have more than two vocal cords. Like we have two, humans do. But in order for them to make the sounds they do, I've been told that they could possibly have 7 different vocal cords, and really,
okay.
That would account for a lot of the sounds they make. Which just didn't make sense to us at all when we heard them. It's like they just don't make sense. You might think you're hearing, all kinds of things. You might think you're hearing your dog's name being called, your uncle's name being called out in the woods, things that just don't work. Sometimes we thought our camp was being tore apart, and you look out there, nothing's changed out of our shelter, and yet you heard it. Now, did they hypnotize us all? Did we just think we heard that? Or you have to question yourself, what went on. But it wasn't just me that experienced this. It was the other guys did too. They all got the stories. They're all passing away. I mean, there's two or three of us left, but I'm telling the story, and it's coming out on film. It'll be a documentary out on this, hopefully this year, and of the Sierra Camp. And some of the mysteries going on there. They've been interviewing me now for 2 to 3 years, so I got to get it together. Uh,
Yeah, I
but
know.
yeah,
I think you mentioned. I was going to say, didn't Al Berry, when he went up there, he was wanting to disprove it, or wasn't he kind of a
oh
skeptic
yeah,
when
that
he
was
went
his
to the camp
goal.
with you?
Yeah, didn't know that at the time. We thought he was just a good guy going up there to check things out. He checked things out all right, but he was looking for the hoax. He kept trying to find out who could be pulling this off, way up here in the middle of nowhere. 8 miles in the wilderness, 8,400 feet elevation. Really imposing to get there. It's not like you just walk in there and back your truck up and open up a six-pack. It wasn't that way at all. Very sober camp and very disciplined camp, and it was just an interesting time. And I'm glad now as part of it. I had no idea at the time the significance of these sounds when we was recording them, how they would become known, how they're known today. But yeah, Al Berry was looking for the hoax, and he couldn't find one. In fact, we even took a biologist up there to request of a scientist to do a flora fauna study to see if there's any signs of speakers or speaker wire or nails in the trees or anything like that that could have supported something like a hoax. He couldn't find any. That was Joe Hauser, so he was a wildlife biologist at the time. Now owns the Montana Vortex, so he's all caught up in this now too. But he's on the quantum side of it. He knows what it really is. What really is quantum physics. That's what governs so much of our lives that most of us just don't understand.
Yeah, I'm
But
not
it's
too
fun.
familiar with that. I know the basics of maybe quantum entanglement, that like at a distance everything's connected at an extreme distance, and what one thing experiences at the vast distance, the other thing can experience it. I guess it's just entangled, right? So
Well, the quantum
it's
entanglements,
pretty
how it's
amazing.
all, yeah, it's all through frequency too here. If people say they've got mind speak, some told them something. Well, I always question that because the analytical mind would question that, and I'm very analytical because they may have been trying to mind speak to me back then. I don't know because I always try to think, what was I thinking about to get that thought? You figure it's all yourself. But we're all connected. If they have able to tune into your frequency, which you're who you are, and get on that wavelength. That's what I think people are experiencing when they experience mind speak. It's quantum entanglement. It's like a flock of birds, they're all moving the same. They're not talking to each other. There's a spool of fish under the water. I'm a scuba diver too. You go down in the water and see all these fish, they're just all swimming together. The birds are all flocking together. Just about everything talks to each other, but not necessarily with spoken words. They're entangled with each other. And we can do that, it's called telepathy. A lot of people learn how to do that because we have a lot of abilities we just have not learned how to work with yet. And that's due to the Anunnaki.
Yeah, there's
Way back in the Mesopotamian texts now.
oh, that's another great topic I was going to
Oh
ask you
boy.
about.
Yeah.
I know you've heard, but speaking of telepathy, have you paid any attention to? I think it's called the telepathy tapes, where autistic kids are able to, like, they're maybe nonverbal, but they're able to communicate with their mom like on a telepathic level. Basically, have you heard of
I
that?
haven't. I have heard of that happening. Well, it happens all the time. It's happened to all of us at one time or another. Most of us, anyway. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Their pineal gland, which is inside your head. It's all cleaned up. It's not calcified. Give them a few more years of eating the diets that they give us nowadays. It's genetically modified, and it'll calcify the pineal gland. They won't be able to do that anymore. I'm just saying that we need to clean that up. The pineal gland is our receptor in the brain, which goes right into the heart, which gives you that gut feeling that something else should go that way instead of that way or something. But your brain, because it's so conditioned up here through all our years of being told this is right, that's wrong, and all that stuff, your brain has been so conditioned that it overrides what your heart's telling you. I think your big support factor is just getting your pineal gland cleaned up so that when you get those gut feelings, you go by them. That's just what they call intuition. All that stuff is just. My mother was that way. I remember I used to lose something. She didn't know right where it was, and she didn't see me lose it. She just knew where it was. Very intuitive, and we can all do that if we just clean up our pineal gland and go by and understand our our heart feeling, because it just got to be incoherent with the brain. Our brain is so conditioned, but if we learn to listen to our heart through meditation, just get the rhythm going right so that they're in line. That's what chakra is all about. That's what balancing is all about. And you do that, and that'll help you get on your way to being who you're supposed to be on this planet, in my opinion. So there.
No, I like it. No, I was real quick as far as like, I know you guys experience the audio or the vocalizations up there, but you mentioned something about seeing a UFO earlier. But you
Mm.
also, you guys, you've seen the orbs there, you've seen the flashes of lights and the UFO. Do you mind telling me a little bit about the UFO that you witnessed?
Well, it was a big blue ball. It wasn't little. It was big. And I seen it in the sky, night sky. And this is all when the Bigfoot stuff was going on. Just a big blue
At
ball
the
came
same time?
down. Well, not the very same time, but during the period of time. I mean, I don't remember what was going on. I
Okay.
saw it because I just seen it coming down slow, and I lost it in the big trees. Just came through the trees, but it wasn't like a ball falling. It was controlled, and it was blue. It looked like the moon, except it was blue, and it was just moving down. Like I said, lost spot in the trees. I think there's a UFO component to these things, but that gets way back into a lot of stuff that people just got to look for in the history books and what Mesopotamian Sumerian texts are, and get into what's really going on this planet. People seem to live in a bubble. A lot of people do. They don't want to get out of that bubble. They want to think, oh, here's a biological creature over here. We're just going to go shoot it or get it or capture it or something. Well, a lot of them might be just that, but they're not all the same. A lot of them have crossbred with indigenous people over the eons of time. If you can believe in the Neanderthal, you believe in the troglodytes, the Bushman Hottentot, the Denisovians, those different cavemen that were way back, way back there, who we're supposed to be evolved from. And then you can believe in aliens from outer space, the cosmos coming to Earth, and they've been hybridizing different species. They've been messing with the genome of different species on this planet, and it's just, I think that's what's happened. There's all kinds of different things going on here that we just don't see, like the dog man back where you're at, really, back in that area, more so than out here, and different things that people have seen, but they're created with attributes that we don't understand, because we're in a third density environment here. Everything is based on today and tomorrow, we think, but time as we perceive it don't exist. That's hard to get your head around. Most people think, well, there's light, but light's constant. It doesn't. Everybody thinks, well, it takes 9 minutes to get here, 93 million miles to get here from the sun. Well, no, it doesn't travel at all. It's just a plus and minus thing going along. It's a time dilation thing. Time, it's an amazing subject. I was listening to another program on that this morning, and you get into physics. Feynman, basically Richard Feynman, he's got a good dissertation on that. People should listen to that. It's hard to follow if you're not a little bit familiar with what physics are, but at least you understand more than what you would have if you hadn't listened to it. I hope. But so many people just want to say, what's the roast like, honey? Is it time for dinner? Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know one of the biggest things is if you even bring up the topic, people will shut you down quick or laugh it off, but they won't really take the time to think about it,
Yeah,
scientifically at least. They turn it off. If they haven't seen it, they don't believe it. And
yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
that bugs me sometimes.
It don't bother me because I don't talk to people that don't ask the questions. If they don't know,
Right.
and if I see them cross their arms or give me a look, I just stop right there. I don't go any further because they've already shut you down. And if they don't want to learn more, don't want to understand more, that's okay. That's just their karma. We're here to experience things, and we're all experiencing things. Some good, and some we don't think so good. But everything, in my opinion, is good for you. It's because you're here to learn from it. That's what raises our personal vibrational frequency. Until you get your frequency is out of this density, you're never going to get out of it. You're going to have to experience things until you respond to things properly. And that's what it's all about. That's what the masters taught. When you learn love and compassion, and no matter what comes in front of you, just treat it with love and compassion. And instead of getting mad and pissed off and start wanting to shoot somebody or something, you just no, learn how to live better, how to be a good person, and respond to people better. And so that's what I do. That's what I try to do. That's what I try to tell people when they ask me some of the things. I try to get down to that. At least I've said it in this program. If I don't say it anywhere else, because I think that's all I'm for.
You know,
I've been on the edge so many times in my life. I've experienced a lot of things. It's all been good, but it's all been experiences that I was made to have, and I've asked for them, probably, because energy, which we're made of, cannot die. You know, biological bodies are going to pass on. They're going to go back to dirt. Our energy, who we really are, ethereal part of us, our soul, our consciousness keeps going, and that's what's important. Is to get your vibrational level raised with love and compassion, so that I can just ride along forever, Paul, if you don't stop me.
I think no, I think it's a good message. It needs to be heard. You know,
I think so.
and
That's my passion. It's my
yeah,
passion.
yeah, for sure. And I wonder if it seems to be some people will have these encounters over and over again, and then there's some that go looking for this stuff, and they search for it for years and they can never have an encounter. I wonder if if there is a vibrational thing going on with that, or if these things are attracted to people with higher vibrations, or is it just what do you think
I
about that?
think, well, I think it is about vibration. Vibration. It's just some people are. You can't make this happen. You know, we never could make it happen up there. We just had to sit back and hope it did, or listen for it, because there are telltale signs when these things are around that we learned how to listen to and pay attention to, and the strange anomalies too. You know, strange things will happen that you don't understand, but sometimes you just put that up on the shelf and don't think about it anymore. That's what we had to do back then. And it's a crazy subject matter.
It is. And I was going to ask you, like, and I'll use the term loosely, but for researchers that are kind of just coming into the field, or even some that have been in the field, what mistakes do you think, what do you see that's been repeated over and over if they're really trying to research this phenomenon?
Well, the young ones just listen, and try to get two ears, one mouth, so you can listen more, and listen, and don't judge other people. Don't judge. Don't try to tell them what to do. Other people just suggest things, but that's all you can do. Let them live out their karma and have their experiences. The grayback researchers out there, which they've been making comments on that, so how they're just biological, nothing can disappear. They're just unread and unknown. They're uneducated, I should say, with what's really going on. And what they should do is stop trying to put this thing in a bottle so quickly. They need to do their own homework, do their own research, and stop degrading people who want to believe something different, because we don't know. None of us really know everything. They call me an expert only because I know a little more than most people. That's because I've been doing it more than anybody else, and I've encountered these things more than most people have. And the sounds have put me on the platform here where I can talk about this, but where it's taken me to is into the ethereal realm of who we really are as human beings. That because I was raised religiously in church, and I kind of had to put all that together, because it just giants aren't supposed to exist nowadays, right? But these things are giant, and they do exist. What they are, at least what we ran into up there, because they are not all the same. They're just not all the same. Some of them might just be more biological than others. Can they change density? Can they change and go out of our perception? Our light's frequency, light has frequency too. It's only 430 to 770 terahertz. That's the frequency of light. And once it goes out of that, we don't see it anymore. You don't see anything goes out of that frequency. Our eyes are only into that, and we're in a third density environment, and we have to learn that we know that time just sort of goes by day by day. We think there's going to be a tomorrow, but really everything's in the now, and we need to make the most of our now moment, like we're trying to do right now. Not yesterday's history don't exist, tomorrow don't exist. Everything's in the now. It's time as we perceive it. Don't exist. Get outside of its earthly environment and start traveling outside at faster speeds, and time goes a lot slower. Now that's hard to get your head around, because Newtonian physics says now everything's timed. That guy kicked me out of the scientific club a long time ago, I think, when I said, well, if everything's measurable, somebody tell me how far it is in the universe. That's when I stopped getting the letters and all that stuff. Scientists who want to know, because most of them don't question that. They're trained in their academia science, and they're trained within the parameters of academia, and they can't get out of that. The ones that do I think, are the ones that need to be applauded, because some of them want to put their career on the line and step out of that. Well, good for them. We need
Yeah.
more people who think good, and so many people don't think; they just want to do. And I just love
Well,
it.
yeah, some of the best thinkers in history were persecuted and put to death because of the different way that they thought. But nowadays, it's they were right about a lot of things.
Well, Galileo, he was right. He got put on house arrest for claiming that
Yep.
the Earth moved around the sun. Well, no, that wasn't accepted at all. It takes somebody out of the box to come up with stuff, and I think people just sort of got to stop downgrading science. Just look into quantum science a little bit better. It's not that difficult to get your head around some of the stuff that's in there. Can they disappear? They go out of our perception, or their density perception, and what happens to them then, God only knows.
Well, I've talked to a lot of people that that they do think that they're flesh and blood, or they're an undiscovered primate, Gigantopithecus. But I'm
Well,
thinking after this time, somebody should have bagged one by now if it was just true flesh and blood.
Well, Fred Beck claimed he shot one, and other people claim they shot him. And, they are flesh and blood when they're in our density. But can they go out of our density? Can they get out of our density? But when they're in our density, our third density, they are subject to our rules, just like we are. Yeah, you can shoot one. They have to eat, they sleep, they procreate. They do what we do when they're in our density. And the ones that are more hybridized, which I should say, like the ones that are crossbred with indigenous people more so, that's what I think most people are encountering when they do encounter them. They haven't lost all their attributes of knowing how to cloak, I should say. I don't like that word cloak, but I think they're very good at that if they want to just be unseen. But can they step out of their three-dimensional environment and get into another density? I think what we dealt with up there in Sierras can do that, because we should have seen them more often than what we did. We just got glimpses of them occasionally, and that's not an easy thing to do. Most people see them, they're just going to see them by accidents. Young researchers out there, my advice to them is just be still and let it happen. Don't try to make it happen. Keep your mind and your thoughts clean, and keep your flag up, because there are some bad things out there too. And they're not running around out there in the woods waiting for someone to give cupcakes to. They're just not going to do that. So, but if they are friendly, you're going to know it. And if they're not friendly, you're probably going to know that too. I was up in Port Locke,
Yeah.
Alaska, on researching that area. From how that gets into the story altogether, which I was filmed on that with the Discovery Channel, and it was quite an event. They flew me way back into a part of Alaska where people had been tore apart, and they had abandoned a village, a fishing village. But I tell you
Yeah,
what, if you
I
don't
remember hearing
just
about that.
just respect this earth, respect what you are as a human, respect other people, respect. That's the good word, respect. That's the word I'd leave with you tonight. It's respect. Because if you respect the environment, respect who you are as a human being, respect them, you're probably going to have a good something happen. Because you do have a dominion. You can call these things off if something comes at you that you don't like. Your biggest issue is fear. And if you have fear in you, they will play with that sometimes. So I suggest people learn how to control that part of it. Just realize who you are. Nothing can really hurt you. Nothing can hurt you. They might take your body, but so what? That doesn't hurt you, who you really are inside. So anyway, that's how I look at it. I'm old now. I don't care if they eat me. I'm probably too tough. They'd have to have some good salt and pepper and some Tabasco sauce for me right now, probably. Anyway,
Well, yeah, I was gonna. I know you brought up the term fear, and this is a little bit off topic, but not much. But we were talking about the dog man earlier, and it seems
mm,
to be that a lot of reports from some people I've spoken with, or what I've heard, is that they play on your fear. Like they, it's like
that's
the
what
more afraid you are of it, it's going to come to you.
I suggested that to Daryl Denton and to Martin Groves both when I was with them. If you fear these things, they got guns. They're ready to shoot their way out of something. There's that fear that you got to get a hold of. You got to not have that, because once you don't have it, you're probably not going to have some bad things going on. But there are bad things out there that's going to mess with you anyway. If you don't have the fear, that's who you are, and you don't want to be that. Just know that you're going to be okay, and know that you have command over things. That's my advice to those that are out there that do run across something. Just try to control your fear and keep calm. Know who you are. That's the hardest thing, just
Yeah.
knowing who you are. So many people don't know who they are, how special we are as human beings, as a human. human race that we are, what we've been given, who we are inside.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I told this story the other night, but I had an encounter, not a visual encounter, but a few years ago I was hiking in the northern mountains, or I guess northern hills of Alabama, and I was setting up camp, and something just kind of overcome me with fear. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was. I grew up in the woods. I grew up camping. I've been out hiking and camping my whole life, but there was something that all of a sudden I had a big just fear of, or some. It felt like something bad was about to happen, and I pulled my weapon. And I put my back against a tree, and I just sat there for a few minutes, ready gun position, and it passed just as fast as it came on. But it was. I don't know if it was a big cat or something stalking me, but it was an overwhelming sense of fear and dread. But it passed, like I said, as soon as it happened, it just faded.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
it
don't know
could
what
have
that was.
infrasound too. I think these things can, Bigfoot anyway, can work with infrasound or ultrasound, either one. And infrasound will definitely affect you. I've had that happen to me up there in the terror camp a couple times. It's your self-protection mechanism built in you too. It might have been a big cat. It might have been who knows what. But whatever it was, you probably handled it just right. Just be still and know who you are. And yeah, fear. That's a big deal. It is a big deal. And I say I don't have
Yeah,
fear,
I
but
didn't have any.
I've been tested a few
Yeah, I
times.
didn't have any choice.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
No.
I didn't have any choice but to be still.
Well, either way, if I go in the land in Lake and I'll take my 44 Magnum. There you go. Just because a
Yeah,
lot of things can bother you besides these creatures.
sure. Sure. Yeah, I know we were talking about Land Between the Lakes earlier. I want to go up there pretty soon. I'm kind of trying to plan a trip up there to hike and maybe do some. I probably shouldn't, but I want to do like a solo hike or
Mm.
solo camp just first couple of times just to see what I might experience. That's probably not smart, but
It's not smart.
you know,
I caution you
I
again.
know,
You
I
need
know,
someone, just
but
another person to look over your shoulder. Yeah, but that's up
sure,
to you.
sure,
Maybe something you're supposed to chill, you're supposed to face. I've been up to our Sierra camp by
yeah,
myself 3 times actually in my life, and it's not fun. I mean, it's just, of course, I did it. I went up there by myself just because I didn't want to fear it. I knew fear was an issue, and I wanted to be able to handle it. And the last time I was up there by myself was in 2011, and that was I wasn't afraid, and these things were out there. And I mean, that was my last encounter that I'm sure wasn't. Well, we had another something happen. This was chatter with the Bigfoot, big knock, something walking around right outside my little tent. Yeah, it was a big deal. I should have. I mean, I just started talking to it. Like, I know who you are. Leave me alone. Don't leave. I didn't say leave me alone. I said just let me see you. Let me understand you more. Let me learn more about you. Be good. Be nice. And they are a hard time with that one, maybe. Of course, if you come back and you don't have an arm, one of your arms got ripped off, then you know they're not a friendly.
yeah.
That's how you.
That'll be your clue. What just taking you back real quick that night, or what prompted you to bring a tape recorder? Like was it like the second time or the first time you?
Well, it wasn't a night; it was several nights over the years. We taped for hours these things from 71 through 76. What happened was the Johnson brothers, who went up there first and encountered something coming around their camp. They came out and told the rest of the guys. Everybody went back up, and they started encountering them again. They took a tape recorder back up just so they could record things. The Johnson did. Anyway, from there on, we went up there. We took little tape recorders, cassette recorders. If it happens, we want to be able to record it. So prompting us was basically because they were coming around and they were chattering. They were sometimes very aggressive chattering, and you don't know what you're dealing with. I mean, nobody was looking for Bigfoot up there. It wasn't like a Bigfoot camp. It was a hunting camp. It had been since the 1958, when the Johnsons started going up there, and they treated it like that. It was a very remote hunting camp, and Bigfoot wasn't on their radar. Wasn't on anybody's radar. Was after the encounters we started thinking about it a lot and talking about it and doing some. I know Warren Johnson wrote a letter to Ivan T. Sanderson, a linguist, and 23-page handwritten letter, which I have a copy of. He thought it was a hoax. He thought, oh, nothing, this can't happen. Repeated events, that hadn't happened to anybody, right? Well, it was happening to us. He thought, well, he sent it all to Peter Byrne, This is in Oregon, at a Bigfoot Research Center in Oregon. Peter thinking the same thing. That was a hoax, but he called Al Berry down in California if he wanted to come in and interview us, which he did. And we didn't know it, but he was thinking somebody's pulling my leg too, but I'd go up there and check it out. So we invited him in. That was in 1972. And he started experiencing the same thing, trying to uncover a hoax. He couldn't find one, couldn't put it together how it made sense. So anyway, since then I took David Pilates up there, him and his filmer, and he did interview with me up there in 2018. David Johnson, Warren Johnson's youngest son, who was just a boy when all this was going on, knew the way in. And he took this filming crew, this Renaissance group who's doing the filming. They wanted me to take them in. But it's not a safe thing if you don't know how to ride and how to be on an animal, because you got to ride. If you're going to take camera equipment in there, you just have to take mules and horses. And it's just too much of a trek to try to carry this stuff in. They went up a couple years later, I think, a couple years ago, and did a filming around the camp just to have it in their bag. So when they do produce this Voices in the Wilderness documentary, they'll have the camp in it. Anyway, I'll be glad to see that come out. They say it's going to put everything over the edge, really, for everybody. They're really getting some good, solid stuff on this. Glad to see it happening.
So you think are they still getting footage or evidence up there?
I think they're done with that part. They're doing the editing now, and they're trying to get it out to where it's supposed to go. I just talked to them the other day, and they thought they were going to have it in springtime, so I started telling people spring up. Then they said, I was looking, it might be summer. Well, I'm not going to tell people when it's going to be out because I don't know. First time it's going to be out Christmas of 24. Well, we'll have it in the spring of 25. Well, then we'll have it by Christmas of 25. Now they're going to have, well, it's going to be spring of next year. Well, now they just told me it's summer, but I'm not holding my breath right now. Because they do a good job when they do it, but their funding is very limited, and they're working on that part. But they've done all the filming I think they're going to do, I think, and they just doing the editing now and put it together in a good, cohesive manner.
Yeah, I can't wait. That'll be something to see.
Yeah, I do have my audiobook I just got out on Hangar One, Alex Hijack's Hangar One station. I produced an audiobook with my AI, did it mostly. It's out now, so people can get that. I've been asked for that for a long time. Voices in the Wilderness. It's got the sounds in it, and it's got my narrative, my story. Really, it's my chronicle. It's got the sounds integrated in it. It can be acquired through my website, ronmorehead.com.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, where could people find all of this stuff? But you just did it for me.
I try to slip those in there once in a while.
No, yeah, that's perfect. It's great. It's great marketing. So just thinking back, though, I mean, was there at one point in this whole journey that you realized that these things weren't just a physical thing? Or at what point, or what pushed you over the edge thinking there could be something like way more than physical?
It was kind of a graduate thing. I kept learning more and more and more. The more I learned, the more I realized how that corresponded with my experience up there and all our experiences up there. And it wasn't just a click like that. No, it was Al Berry originally. He said, stay with science. Okay, that's number one. Stay with science, because that's what gets people's attention. So all through my research, all I've stayed with science. But it's quantum science. It's not Newtonian science. That's classical. That's not where it goes. What we dealt with up there falls under quantum science. And for these people that says that can't happen or this can't happen, they just haven't experienced anything. And until they do, they're never going to get off that bandwagon. They're just going to think that it's something biological. And I'm not saying they're not biological. They are biological. They leave tracks. They poop. They do everything we do when they're in our density. But can they go out of our density? Some of them can, yes. I'm not sure they all do. I think a lot of them just diluted down so much from crossbreeding with indigenous people. It's just put them in a more human-like status. I think that's what the Patterson film represents, really, is one that's been so hybridized from crossbreeding with indigenous people, which means 23 pairs of chromosomes, like we have. And if you look into all that, you understand more how I got a interview now that actually Renaissance done with me. It's on my Facebook page, Ronald J. Morehead. That's up now if people want to hear my interview with them. It gets into some of that stuff. What brought me to that conclusion. Because it wasn't like I just popped in and something hit me in the head, this has to be the way. Something has to answer all the questions. Mysteries are out there, but there's not a mystery out there that can't be answered by something. some way. There has to be an answer to it. Otherwise, it would be a mystery. That's my philosophy. But you got to keep your head open too, your mind open. I treat it like a parachute. If it don't open, you jump out of the plane. It's gonna be you got to think real fast before you hit the bottom.
Yeah.
But you don't want to have your mind so open that your brains fall out either.
Right. Yeah. I was going to also just ask you real quick. I mean, do you believe we're any closer to understanding what this phenomenon is, or are we still just kind of
Yes.
figuring it out?
I think we're trying to figure it out, but we're closer. Thanks to you, thanks to me, thanks to more of these things happening. Yes, more exposure, aliens, UFOs, all that stuff is being brought out to the front of us now. And these things are being seen more and more often because they are expanding and they are reproducing. Yes, I think we're closer. And we will understand a whole lot more before this year's out and into next year. And it's thanks to programs like this that the word gets out and people get a little more open-minded, a little more understanding, because really it's just understanding. Like Edgar Mitchell said, no, like Nikola Tesla said this, there's classical and science. Wait a minute, let me start over. Edgar Mitchell said, there's classical and quantum sciences together to have clear perception. And then you got Nikola Tesla said, well, one man calls God, another one calls quantum physics, the laws of quantum physics. Well, quantum physics and spirituality are pretty much synonymous. So we are spiritual beings inside. That's who we are, really. We're not this biological. We're carrying this thing around with us, who we really are, until this biological body dies. But what we are inside, our energy cannot die, and that's science, and that's mathematically established and it's accepted by physicists worldwide. But it's hard for people to get by. They see a tomb over here, a cemetery over there, and they think, well, there's bodies. There are bodies there, but the people that were in those bodies, whoever was in those bodies, aren't there anymore.
Right,
and
right.
that goes along with religion too, if you really want to be religious about it. Yeah, but it's science also.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Ron, man, I could talk to you all night. I told you I wasn't going to keep you too long, but I would love to have you back on again. When I know I don't have probably the best internet connection. I know I lost you at one point, but I would love to have you back on anytime. And
Thank you, Paul. Yeah.
definitely when I a little more prepared for.
Well, it was a pleasure being with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to
get,
take a class on quantum physics before I talk to you again. I won't be able to.
Well, there's some really good ones out there. Some really simple ones that on layman's terms. And my book, with the Quantum Bigfoot, is pretty much written on layman's terms.
Yeah.
It gets into, spirituality, religion a little bit, but that's part of this whole package that we've got to deal with here. I like to get into Mesopotamia, because when you start researching history, you find out where we're all from, what really took place, what happened, how it happened here, what happened there, and you put it together in your own mind and then come up with your own truth and understand history. If you don't learn from history, you can repeat it.
Yeah. I know people don't look very far back, but ancient Samaria is very interesting if they would just dig a little deeper.
That's it. Sumerians wrote down a cuneiform text, which is being translated now, and there's thousands of them written by the Sumerians, and clay tablets are now dried out, and but they're interpreting those now, and that's where you find out more about, because you find out how that just sort of gels in with a lot of the stuff that's in our Bible and our ancient texts, all the way from Greek mythology into King James version of the Bible, the brothers fighting, or you find out there's two Anunnaki out here. You find out who the brothers were, but men used to live a lot longer. What's covered in about 2 or 3 chapters of Genesis is to several 100,000 years, and you understand this stuff a little better, and you see how it was translated and how the text we're reading comes about and how it got changed. I started off with a Hebrew translator years ago, and I found out the word says it's harder for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle than it is it's harder for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Then I found out the word for camel is spelled exactly the same way in Hebrew as the word for rope. Well, it makes more sense if you think about it for someone to say harder for a rope to go through the eye of a needle.
Yeah.
And that got me started, realizing there's some discrepancies going on in interpretation. All probably meant well, but it was all filtered through the minds of conditioned men. God didn't write the Bible, men did. And I think we have to understand a lot of what we've been reading, what we've been taught is not totally correct. But there's some nuggets in there that you ought to pull out and see what fits.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Well, again, thank you so much for hanging out. And if you do come to Nashville, look me up. I know some great barbecue places we need to go to.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I am coming to Nashville, so I don't know when, but I should be there in March sometime.
Yeah.
So you take care, Paul, and thank you again for having me on.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, 100%. But I'll, if you will, hang on just a second. I'm gonna put you out in the chat room just a little bit, but I just need to do some little housework real quick here.
Okay.
Hey guys, that's it. I appreciate you coming out tonight, listening to Ron Morehead. What a legend. And I know he appreciates you being here, and I certainly do. All right, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, just reach out to me. If you've had a strange encounter or anything out of the ordinary you just want to tell me about, you can email me at mysteriousHuntsman@gmail.com. You can also reach me at themysteriousHuntsman.com, and you can find me on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, that's it, guys. I appreciate you, and we will talk soon.